This should have been the happiest moment of my life. Everything around me suggested perfection. I was 7 months pregnant, glowing with the anticipation of welcoming my first child. James, my husband, had been endlessly attentive, his hand always brushing against mine in public, his arm instinctively shielding me from crowded subway platforms, his voice a constant reminder that I was loved. Just last weekend we had stood together in the softly lit baby department at Bergdorf Goodman, laughing as we argued over whether to buy the pale pink or sky blue onesie, before settling on a tiny Chanel cardigan. "Emily, our baby will grow up to be as gentle and beautiful as you are," James whispered in my ear as he handed the cardigan to the cashier. His words had brought tears to my eyes, and for a fleeting moment, the world felt like a dream I didn't want to wake from. My life, from the outside, looked flawless. I was a marketing director at a prestigious advertising agency, living in a penthouse on the Upper East Side with panoramic views of Manhattan. My mornings often began with brunch at Sarah Beth's, followed by leisurely walks through Central Park, the kind of life people imagined when they thought of glossy magazine covers and movie-perfect New York. With my morning sickness finally gone, each day had become more peaceful, more filled with quiet joy. But beneath this glittering surface, a shadow lurked, my mother, Diana Spencer. She had always been a woman who thrived on image, a fixture in New York's social elite. She was the immaculate wife of real estate magnate Charles Spencer, summering in the Hamptons, skiing in Aspen, gracing charity galas in gowns flown in from Paris. She was the queen of appearances, a woman who could silence a room simply by walking into it. Even now, draped in vintage Hermes and arriving in her chauffeur-driven Bentley, she carried herself as though the world revolved around her. To her, my older sister Karen was the golden child, the daughter who embodied everything the Spencer name demanded, a model whose face adorned billboards in Soho, engaged to a Hollywood actor who commanded millions of adoring fans, their photos on yachts, their flawless vacations, their coordinated outfits were plastered across magazines and social media. Karen was the pride of the family. And I was always the afterthought, the one quietly pushed aside, my father's daughter. 20 years ago, when my parents divorced, my mother severed all ties between me and my father. Every birthday card, every Christmas letter, every attempt he made to reach me was intercepted. "Forget about that man," she would say coldly. I learned to swallow the ache in my chest, never knowing whether my father had truly abandoned me or whether something darker had occurred. Now, with my pregnancy, the tension with Mother and Karen had grown unbearable. When Karen's fiancé had expressed his excitement about starting a family, Mother declared without hesitation, "Karen's child will be my true grandchild." She said it in the reception room beneath the looming family portraits, her diamond-studded fingers twisting the heirloom Spencer ring as though sealing the decree with royal authority. The disdain didn't stop there. On Madison Avenue one afternoon, she had stared at my swelling belly with thinly veiled disgust. "You always disappoint me," she said icily, her words slicing through the hushed boutique like a blade. I tried to shrug it off. I had James. I had loyal friends. I had a life of my own. And yet, Mother's presence haunted even my happiest days. When I planned my baby shower at the Plaza Hotel, I dreamed of laughter and warmth, of 30 guests gathered in a ballroom lit by crystal chandeliers, of champagne flutes clinking as the gender reveal cake was unveiled. The grand ballroom was decorated in soft hues of pink and blue. Pearl accents glimmered on silk wall panels, and delicate baby shoes adorned the tables like tiny talismans of joy. "Emily, the venue looks perfect," Sarah, my closest friend since college, said, her hand resting on my shoulder. The emerald view of Central Park outside the tall windows felt like a blessing. I smiled faintly, but Sarah's sharp eyes saw the unease in me. "Don't worry about your mother," she whispered. "We're here for you." Her words steadied me. Still, the RSVP cards from Mother and Karen replayed in my mind, their polite words etched with hidden malice, thorns wrapped in silk. When the day arrived, the ballroom sparkled with laughter. Guests cooed over Dior shoes, Burberry blankets, and Chanel baby accessories. Blessings filled the baby book, James's mother riding through tears, the beginning of a beautiful family. I allowed myself to breathe. For one fleeting hour, I believed this day could truly belong to me. Then my phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. "I will protect you. Trust me." My heart jolted. The style of the words felt achingly familiar, like the secret letters I had discovered years ago in Mother's study, letters from my father. Before I could gather my thoughts, the air in the ballroom shifted, conversations faltered, guests instinctively turned toward the entrance. And there she was. Mother entered earlier than expected, her Hermes scarf tied flawlessly, her Chanel suit sculpted to perfection, yet her aura was colder than ice. Karen trailed beside her, already cradling a glass of wine, her lips curled into a mocking smile. They looked every bit the picture of elegance, but their eyes betrayed something venomous. "Why so early?" I asked, my voice barely steady. Mother's heels clicked against the marble as she closed the distance between us. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice slicing through the room like glass shattering. The chatter died instantly. Even the clinking of glasses ceased. "What do you mean?" I whispered. "Don't act ignorant," she spat. "You having a child first is unacceptable." Her voice rose into a shriek. The chandeliers trembled as her rage filled the room. "I will not allow it. Karen's child will be my true grandchild, not this mistake of yours." Gasps echoed. Someone dropped a glass, its shatter ringing through the silence. Karen laughed, her high-pitched giggle reverberating with cruelty. "We don't need any extra children in this family," she sneered, tilting her wine glass mockingly toward me. Time slowed. Mother's Jimmy Choo heel lifted, aimed toward my stomach. Instinctively, I wrapped my arms around my belly, protecting the life inside me. Screams erupted, chairs scraped, but I was frozen in terror. And then, "So you've finally shown your true colors, Diana." The voice rolled across the room, deep, commanding, impossible to ignore. The air froze. Guests turned as one. Mother's face drained of color. Karen's wine glass slipped from her hand, crimson drops staining the pristine carpet. It was a voice I had not heard in 20 years, but one I had never forgotten. "Father." And in that moment, everything I thought I knew about my past, my family, and myself began to unravel. "Security." The word echoed in the room, but no one moved. My body trembled slightly as James held me close, his arms shielding me from the chaos that had nearly unfolded. Around us, the invited guests, dressed in their designer gowns and tailored suits, stood in stunned silence. Even the social elite, who prided themselves on never losing composure, were left speechless by this spectacle. And then, through the oppressive quiet, came a sound, measured, deliberate, undeniable. Father's footsteps. The moment Mother saw him, her carefully constructed mask cracked, her tense expression shattered like fragile porcelain under too much pressure. The confidence she wielded at every social gathering drained from her face, leaving only raw fear. Her eyes widened as though she were seeing a ghost. Karen stood frozen, her manicured hand still clutching the stem of her wine glass until it slipped and shattered. Crimson liquid bled across the pure white carpet, spreading like a wound, an omen painted in silk and crystal. "I'll call security," James whispered, fury flashing in his eyes as he reached for his phone. I stopped him, gently placing my trembling hand on his. Our eyes locked, his brimming with anger and protectiveness, mine filled with something else entirely. "Wait," I whispered, my voice breaking. Tears welled in my eyes, not tears of fear or humiliation, but of long-awaited relief. The moment I had been waiting for 20 years had finally arrived. The chandelier above caught the glimmer of those tears, making them sparkle like fragments of light after a storm. Father crossed the ballroom with slow, deliberate steps. His stride wasn't hurried, but each step carried the weight of a man who had endured years of separation and had finally come to reclaim his place. In his navy suit, he looked like the same man from the faded photographs I kept hidden at the bottom of my drawer. Yet there was more now, etched lines of wisdom, kindness, and an unyielding strength built over 2 decades of loss. "Emily," he called softly. My name, spoken in that voice, carried 20 years of silenced love. I stumbled out of James's arms, my knees weak but my resolve pulling me forward. Every step toward Father was like retracing the memories I had buried. A summer day when I was 16. A letter I found in Mother's study, tucked deep in the back of her antique desk. An envelope worn at the edges, filled with handwriting I didn't recognize. To my beloved daughter. Since Mother likely intercepts all my letters, this one may never reach you, but I'll keep writing, believing that someday my words will find you. From then on, I searched obsessively, month after month. I crept into Mother's study when she was out at luncheons or asleep in her room. I found them, hidden letters, one each month, never failing. I tucked them into a small box under my bed, my secret treasure, my connection to the father I was told to forget. I'm always watching over you. On your graduation day, when you looked up at the sky, I was there. That navy gown suited you so well. I longed to be in the front row, but I couldn't. Still, your radiant smile reached me, even from the shadows. Your speech moved me to tears. Later, when I learned you had joined an advertising agency, my heart swelled with pride. You have always been creative, always strong. I knew you would shine. Those letters had a P.O. box return address, but I was never allowed to reply. Mother monitored my every move, her watchful eyes suffocating me even as I tried to grow into adulthood. Then, 2 months ago, everything changed. Terrified by Mother and Karen's increasingly cruel behavior, I found the courage to reach out. With trembling fingers, I typed a desperate email. Dad, I've read your letters since I was 16. I know you've always been there. Now I need you. I have to protect this child. His reply came just hours later. My heart had leapt at the late-night chime of my phone. I'll be there. Leave it to me. I won't leave you alone again. When I told him about the baby shower, he answered simply, Emily, I won't let anyone hurt you anymore, I promise. Now, here he was. Emily, come here. His voice pulled me back from the tide of memories. Mother suddenly erupted, her voice stripped of its elegant lilt, replaced with venom. You have no rights. Where were you for 20 years? She screamed, her shrill cry bouncing off the chandeliered ceiling. Father's reply was calm, steady, but powerful enough to silence the room. Rights? Yes, Diana, I have them, the right to protect my daughter, and the right to stand by my grandchild. That's a right you can never strip away. James stepped forward then, standing firmly by my side. His voice was steady, respectful, but strong. You must be Emily's father. Yes. Father's eyes softened as he looked at me, a father who has thought of his daughter every single day for 20 years. The two men shook hands, firm, unyielding. In that moment, I realized something profound. My true family was here, not in the bloodline of the Spencers who sought to control and diminish me, but in the bonds of love and loyalty that stood before me now. Mother tried to raise her voice again, but the grand doors of the ballroom opened. 2 suited men from hotel security stepped inside, their expressions grim. Please escort these people out, James commanded with quiet authority. His voice filled the room like a verdict. Their attempt to harm a mother and unborn child will be reported to the police. All security footage has been preserved. Mother shrieked as the guards moved forward, her perfect makeup streaking, her carefully constructed mask disintegrating. Emily, you're a Spencer. Don't forget your blood. I lifted my chin, my voice steady for the first time in years. No, Mother, I am my father's daughter, and I will be this child's mother. Karen's defiant expression finally cracked as she and Mother were escorted out, their heels clicking frantically against the marble floor until they disappeared beyond the doors. The silence that followed was heavy, but it wasn't oppressive, it was cleansing. Father placed a hand on my shoulder. The warmth of that touch filled 20 years of emptiness, sealing wounds I thought would never heal. We need to talk, Emily, he said quietly. There's something you deserve to know. A truth from 20 years ago, a truth your mother fought to bury. Around us, the guests slowly began to leave, but not before they each paused, offering warm words, their blessings wrapping around me like a protective embrace. I'm so glad you've reunited with your father. What a beautiful family bond. This is what love looks like. This is only the beginning of true happiness. Sarah was the last to remain, helping us clear the room. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears as she hugged me tightly. Emily, today was painful, but it was necessary. This was meant to happen. You're free now. Later, in the quiet of the VIP lounge, it was just the 3 of us, Father, James, and me. Beyond the tall windows, Manhattan's skyscrapers glowed under the orange hues of dusk. The city, usually restless, seemed to pause, as though it too bore witness to the rebirth of a family. Father drew in a breath, his face heavy with the burden of untold years. His voice carried both sorrow and strength. 20 years ago, everything began with your mother's scheme. The truth you've longed for is darker than you know, but tonight, you'll finally hear it. I inhaled deeply, bracing myself. The missing piece of my life, the secret that had shaped everything, was finally about to be revealed.